so many people are always trying to optimize these different things with like automations, automated texts, automated calculators, using AI. And this is fundamentally why I don't think any of those will work.
We were thinking it was going to help our business because, okay, we're getting out more offers, but the way we were delivering those offers was just terrible.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today is Monday. This is the Scale Show where we interview operators that are in the hustle and bustle and living down in the trenches of their business, just like a lot of you. And today we have longtime Scale member Karl Huth out of Wisconsin. And dude, I am super excited to have you on the show because you are one of like our OG members. You literally from like day one, you came in with us when we didn't even know what the heck we were doing yet with Scale. That's back when it was like the instant investor program. And we were trying to sort of figure out what that was going to look like. Man, you have had all kinds of ups and downs and tremendous growth over the past couple of years, man. And so super excited to dive into your story today and everything that you are working on and that's been working for you in your business. So to get started and give everyone a quick introduction, give us like a quick little like 3-minute rundown, who you are, where exactly you're based, and what your team and business currently looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So we are out of the East Central Wisconsin area. So I was in corporate America for a while there and then jumped ship about 3 years ago. And
Nice.
we are in Fond du Lac is where we're located, but we operate kind of an hour radius of Fond du Lac, which touches Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Madison. Um, so that's kind of the area that we're marketing to and working in right now. And our team is pretty small still, looking to grow it, but we have some VAs that are helping us with some data gathering and organization of data. And then we have a lead manager and then myself. So that's the business currently.
Sweet and simple. It's funny. I didn't realize you left your job like that recently. For some
Yeah.
reason, when you joined us, I thought you'd been in the hustle and grind for longer. What was your previous job?
I worked in Mercury Marine, so the outboard motor manufacturers.
Okay.
So I was did multiple roles in there, but all in the supply chain, purchasing. Um, Ended up as an area manager for one of the plants.
Sounds riveting. I'm sure
Yeah,
that
it was not.
you're very sad to leave.
It was not. No, it was great to say goodbye to them. So a good company to work for and great people that I worked with, but just wasn't where I wanted to be.
Totally. Awesome, man. So what is your current like asset class slash exit strategy that you're pursuing?
So the majority of the stuff that we're doing right now is we're flipping the majority of it. We'll wholesale them when they make sense, obviously, but we're flipping the majority of it right now just because we have some good teams and depending on where the property is and the level of renovation. So
Yeah.
we'll flip them, but we'll buy and hold. Um, we have some short-term and some long-term rentals as well. So
Yeah, I know you're not afraid to wholesale because you just brought down a massive one too. It was like 40 grand from lead that came in to like money in your bank account pretty much.
yeah, that
In
one
two
was our
weeks.
fastest one. So 40 grand from the time that the individual called into our system to the time that we closed it, it was 40 grand. So
Awesome.
that was
Yeah.
our fastest one and obviously a good payday for the wholesale. So
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that one a little bit later because that was a sick deal and how that
yeah,
one came
yep.
around. Cool. And then such small team, your current role in the business, you must wear a lot of hats, I would guess. Like how do
Yep.
you kind of balance all of like the different pieces of this thing?
Yeah, so wearing a lot of different hats right now, and that's one of the things that we're trying to improve upon just because I don't want to be. But the main thing that I'm doing right now is the acquisition side. So we have a lead manager that's intaking, talking with people, building rapport, gathering data, measuring the pillars of motivation, and then she's handing them off to me based off of those motivations. And then I'm going there, talking with the people, and trying to get the deal locked up. So, and we also have our VAs that are doing a lot of like the day-to-day activity with data gathering and marketing and kind of organization, some of our social media stuff as well. But that's kind of how it's set up right now. But trying to bring on different people strategically, so I don't have to be doing all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sales piece is something I would love to focus on the show today. Because, having gotten to know you over the past couple of years, you are a similar I would say, like archetype to myself when I got into this business. And I think it's a place that a lot of people find themselves, where you quickly learn that lead generation isn't rocket science.
Yep.
You can get people to call the phone, and the thing that is stopping you from being very, very successful is closing deals and the
Mhm.
sales follow-up process, being able to actually efficiently, sell a seller on wanting to work with you. And it's something that we've had a lot of one-on-one discussions about.
Yeah.
It's something that you've been trying to optimize. um, what has that process been like, I guess, trying to figure that out? Have how long ago did you hire the lead manager? Somewhat recent, like 6 months ago?
Yeah. Roughly or 6 to 8 months ago.
God damn. So for like 2 years, you were beating your head against the wall, trying to like
Oh yeah.
force yourself to do this sales piece.
hmm Yeah, and so the lead manager piece, I did not enjoy that. I'm more of like a in person, just talking. Like I'll go to their house and talk with them and work through their details. And I love problem solving with them, but the whole lead management follow up, I love talking to grandmas, but not for 45 minutes about their
Right.
house that and their nice cat and their dogs and things like that. So it's just I needed to put somebody in that place because I was avoiding all of those tasks and all of those jobs that I needed to be doing that's important for the business, but it wasn't the best use of my time. So it's like I brought somebody in to talk with those grandmas and work through the leads and really pass on the more motivated sellers to me so that I can go there and truly help them out.
Yeah. But even then, like for a while, I mean, one of the biggest challenges you were having was getting offers accepted,
Yeah,
right? Like, why do you think that was such a challenge for you? Is it just personality, lack in putting the
personality.
time in? I think
Yeah.
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, personality because it's like I wanted to just, if somebody would come to me with a sob story about why they needed this, I'd be, feel nervous if I was going to offer them a lower amount. But it's like, this is my business. I need to make money. Obviously, I can't just give it away. So it's kind of coming to that reality where you just need to do what's best for the business. And obviously, you're helping these people out. And if you can't get to that number, then try to find another solution for them.
Totally. And that's a big thing we always harp on, right? Is your business not a charity? And
Correct.
there
Yep.
are difficult things that we face in the direct to seller real estate world. And, you know, there's a fine line between being like predatory and,
hmm
providing service, right? And a lot of that is driven around intent and, what you
Oh
choose
yeah.
to do when you face those situations. So, what do you
Yep.
think was like kind of the catalyst for you to like overcome the challenges of sales, and like trying to get more offers accepted, especially as someone that on your disc assessment, you're not a natural salesperson. Like, what
hmm
kind of work did you have to do to actually get better at the sales portion of this business?
Oh, a lot of work. I mean, and just talking to people like you too, Mike, where it's just like just talking through and saying, hey, what can we improve upon? And the biggest thing is just knowing that you're leading with integrity when you're talking with these people, kind of like what you were saying before. You don't want to be predatorial with these people. And if you know that you're leading if you're going or calling or going to an appointment and you're leading with integrity, it's that changes a lot of things because in my mind, because that's a mindset shift where it's like, all right, I'm not just going to go here and like just worried about the bottom dollar. It's like, okay, go to these sellers and be like, this is our number that we can offer you. This is also, it's not going to be the highest typically, but we offer speed, convenience. Will be the easiest sale that you'll ever do. But if that doesn't work for them, come up with other solutions for them as well, so that you're again leading with integrity. That you're like, all right, this is the number that we can buy it for if we're going to buy it today. But if that doesn't work with you, we got some other options that we can help you out with too.
Totally. Yeah, it's just that simple. They just change your call to action or your pitch to that, and then everyone started accepting right away.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, right.
But it was, and then just talking to more people, going on more appointments. I think that was something too. We were looking at our numbers at the beginning of the year, and we were having a lot of people call into our system from our marketing, but we just weren't getting a lot accepted. And we had looked at it and said, okay, with my lead manager, we're like, all right, we just need to start giving more offers. And it just wasn't the way we went about it wasn't the best because we were like, all right, let's just start shooting out offers, and
Mhm.
we were texting them offers, and it just wasn't converting like we needed it to. And then we needed to reframe that where the lead manager wasn't going to be sending out offers. She was going to go shoot it to me. Then I would call them, hopefully get in person and go and look at more properties and offer them when
Yeah.
we went there and looked at them.
So why do you think that process wasn't working very well? Because that's always one of the biggest things that I hear people wanting to pass off to lead managers, acquisition managers, is they want them to be able to underwrite and give offers themselves because it seems more efficient. But
Mm-hmm.
and then, not to spoil your thunder on this, but when was it last week, 2 weeks ago on our scale community call, you shared that, but since you had taken that responsibility away from your lead manager, you had set up, it was like almost $300,000 in revenue across
Yep.
some of the big deals in like the previous 6 weeks, which is insane,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Just by not having that like too quick to offer process anymore. And so, like, when you were going into that process with the lead manager, like, what did that look like and why do you think it was so ineffective?
It wasn't personal at all, personable at
Mm,
all. We were just kind of, all right, here's the ARV. This is what we think the repairs might be. Here's our range. And this business is so people oriented that you need to be calling people. You need to be going on appointments and just talking with people. And so we were very just shooting out offers, and it just wasn't personable at all. And so what we shifted was I was calling them. My lead manager is very good with building rapport, talking with people, data gathering. But she is remote, so she just doesn't have the conversation piece of the local market, talking with local people. And so it was just kind of me talking with people, just being more personable, going on more appointments and seeing them face to face. And I think that was the biggest shift.
yeah. I mean, and it's such an underrated comment too, right? Because so many people are always trying to optimize these different things with like automations, automated text, automated calculators,
Yep.
using AI, right? That, like, there's several people that have tried to start up these companies that are like these sales AI companies for real estate investors. And this is fundamentally why I don't think any of those will work, because you're
Yep.
100% right. And anyone that's been in this industry for even a little bit of time starts to see how important that personal touch is.
Yeah, you got to be personable.
Yeah.
These people, this is their biggest decision, one of the biggest decisions of their life. And if you're just shooting out offers and, not going and seeing them and really understanding their situation, it's going to be tough. So that was one of the biggest shifts. We were thinking it was going to help our business because, okay, we're getting out more offers, but the way we were delivering those offers was just terrible.
Hmm. Yeah. And I got to give you props on that too, because what typically tends to happen with so many business owners when they are starting to face struggles like that is they try to change personnel, right? They like look for new people, they like do all sorts of stuff. What you did is you said, I'm actually going to volunteer to do more work, right? Which is like the hardest thing I think for an entrepreneur to do, because you spend so much time trying to kind of get out of like the grind. And then when you voluntarily go back in, it almost feels like, at least the couple times I've done that, it always feels kind of like a loss a little bit,
Yep.
or like you're taking a step backwards. But if it's going to make you 300 grand in 6 weeks, like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and yeah, that's one of those things where it's like you listen to a lot of people say delegate, delegate, fire yourself, and I get that obviously to a point, but you got to figure out what those obviously the most important tasks are that you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. And for my business, it's talking to people, going on appointments, and getting in front of people that we can help.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think I was thinking that I was a little more important than I really am, and I was like, well, let's not go on as many appointments or talk to as many people, just the motivated ones. But it's tough to figure out what their true motivation is without talking with them and going and seeing them. That's kind of a trait that you gotta. And I'm trying to teach our lead manager a little bit more with that, but just going and talking with people, I think that's just one of the biggest things that you can go and do.
Yeah. And no matter what you try to do, you can never escape the hard work in one way or another.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And the key to being a good operator is learning which hard work is going to get you the most revenue, which is your only goal when you're a small business.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So
Exactly. Exactly.
you got that figured out. So what is your business kind of look like right now? How many deals are you doing per month on average?
We're doing right around 2 to 3 deals a month right now.
Awesome.
We're trying to bump that up, but yeah, we're doing 2 to 3 deals right now.
Perfect. And then how many of those are like flips versus wholesales?
We're right around, I'd say 70% right now are flips. The remaining are, and remaining are wholesales. We're trying to do more and more wholesales just because flips take
Yeah.
obviously a long time and the cash conversion cycle is tough. So trying to
Mhm.
do a mixture, kind of a 50-50 with flips and wholesales.
Yeah. How do you manage that like project management piece as a solo operator as well? Because, we just spent the first 15 minutes talking about how you run the acquisitions process.
Mhm.
Flipping houses isn't a passive thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. Um, I work a lot right now.
Right.
It's kind of one of those things where, and I got a good team, especially locally, within an hour radius of contractors, and people that I can go to that are doing the renovations for us. And so I can, I trust them. They know kind of how I work. I know how they work. And so that's been huge as well.
That's awesome. Do you find that you have to like churn through those contractors pretty frequently? Like people stop performing for you after you do a certain number of projects with them?
Not anymore. I mean, we were definitely, it took us a long time to get to where we are with the contractors that we work with. We had to
Cool.
weed out a ton of them and fire a ton of them, but now we have a good indirect team of plumbers, electricians, general laborers that we can count on. But you still have to monitor them and hold them accountable, so that definitely takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Do you have any like tools or processes that make that more efficient for you? Or are you just like driving out to these houses all the time? Because you work in a pretty big geographic area too.
Mhm. Yep.
So I
Yeah,
imagine you're not like spending hours in the car every single day. At least I hope you're not.
no, 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 no. I check in with the contractors. So we have four flips that we're doing right now. One is about 45 minutes away from us. Another one's 3 hours away from us. So
Wow.
it's just the one that's 3 hours away from us. I have a general contractor out there that I trust. So it's just a lot of check-ins with them and check-ins and verifies. It's like, what are we working on today? What does the schedule look like? And so we'll kind of map that out. And then I'll always be asking for updated photos as well. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we got the floor in, we got the paint done. I was like, all right, send me photos. It's like trust but verify.
Yeah.
And they kind of get that now, where it's like in the past, it's like, oh, yeah, we got the flooring in. It's like, all right, send me photos. And they're like, well, we only got two pieces of flooring in. And so, um,
Right.
but it's just trying to hold them accountable and sending, having a way for them to check in and make sure that we're still on track.
Yeah, it's always wild what some of those contractors will do. I had a friend a while back who was flipping a house at a distance, kind of like that. And the contractor was like, "Hey, we got all the carpet in. Here's a photo. Send me the money." And the guy sent a photo. He's like, "All right, cool. Sent the money." And basically, the photo that he had taken, it was done in like such a way that he had essentially just like rolled the carpet out like into the
Yeah.
room, and not actually like,
Put it in
yeah,
the corner a little bit.
totally. And like had sent that picture, and like it wasn't actually stapled down. It wasn't throughout the entirety of the house. It was just like the one room, and the guy just like basically stole his money and ran away.
Jeez,
Like, yeah.
jeez.
So you can
Yeah, I
never
mean
know.
the guys I work with, they're I know them very well, like personal, and I trust them a lot. So, but that's why I mean we do the we'll do the photo check-ins, and we'll also do videos, like kind of let's hop on FaceTime and walk me through the project quick, because then
Nice.
we can, if he's got questions or anything like that, I can answer them, and then it also gives me an opportunity to see the property and where they're at.
Yeah, that's great. And so on those, how are you like funding all of these? Hard money lender, you got lines of credit, you got a bunch of
Uh,
cash.
Private money for the flips. So we have some of our cash into them as well, but the majority of it is private money and relationships with family and friends. So we
Nice.
have about 4 or 5 people that fund the purchase and the renovations of the properties.
Sweet. So they give you the renovation funds as well. Do you do that where they like give you the money up front, or do you take like draws as the money's needed?
They give us the money up front, so so the purchase and renovations, they'll fund 100% of it. We'll kind of give them a scope of work and the details on the property, kind of like a pitch deck when we get a property under contract that we're looking for. Um, and so then they'll send us the funds for the purchase and renovations, and then we'll give them a good return on their investment as long as we hold their money, and then they're backed by the real estate as well.
Nice.
So yeah, it's worked out really well for us.
That's great. How did you start making those connections? That's one of the biggest things I get asked all the time is around like getting that initial financial relationship, especially because when you're new, it's really hard to get people to trust you.
Yep.
Um, what did that process look like to get people like willing to give you money like that?
Yeah, the first investors that we worked with, they were through a local RIA that we created a relationship with. And so they were the first ones that kind of, gave us an opportunity. We talked with them a lot. They knew that we
Nice.
were serious about it. And then the next ones were family and friends where we would just talk about what we're doing. And I think that's why social media, I'm not a huge social media fan personally, just posting all the time, but there's a huge place for that. And we've realized that because if you post what you're doing, the different things that you're working on, you get a ton of people just asking you questions. And that led to some other family and friends that was like, hey, we got some money that we're looking to invest. Would you be interested in talking with us? And so then it's just a good sit down conversation, kind of explain the process with them and just kind of going from there. But they need to know, like, and trust you. So that's been
Yeah.
a huge part of it.
Yeah. That's
And the
always the
trust
key.
part is huge because you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of their dollars. You got to make sure that you're treating it like your own.
Nah, man, they're investors. They know there's risk associated. Like if it goes sideways, it's not your problem.
Exactly, exactly.
You were around in 2021 when that was just like the toxic mentality that was everywhere. It was out of control.
Yeah, yeah, but they know that we treat their money better than we treat our own, and that if anything were to go wrong, we'd let them know. And that's a huge thing too, is just kind of keeping them in the loop, especially if they're a new investor. Um, some of our old investors, they don't care, like they'll give it, which is fantastic, and we've created that relationship. But some of the new ones, they want to be along for the journey for the
Hmm.
first couple ones that they're doing. So they like to see updated photos. They like to know what color scheme we're going with. So there's definitely a phase of, the honeymoon phase where you're kind of like working with them and talking with them. They don't, we don't really take their input for like flooring color or paint colors and things like that, but we want to show them like, hey, here's the project. It's coming along nicely. And then afterwards, they're kind of like, okay, you don't have to send me all these updates.
Yeah, that's a great tip right there, honestly, for people that are new to using private money is like, especially if they're a new investor. I mean,
Hmm.
for them, it's like their version of being in real estate, honestly.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
to be able to see the things come together, they get a similar level of gratification to that you do actually being the flipper. And that was something that we
Hmm.
learned early on. I had a friend who's actually my old boss at the gym that I used to work at that would give us money to do flips. And very regularly, we would just kind of like take his money and not like say anything. And all of a sudden he'd be like, how's the deal coming along? I haven't heard
Yep,
anything. And I would
yep.
be like, why do you care? Like you just have like a loan. But then it kind of like clicked with me as like, well, he probably wants to know that I didn't just like take his money and I'm like, just, went to the Quest Casino here and put it all on black. Right. So like that's a huge tip. That's such a small thing that
It
will
is.
really increase, people's trust in you. And have you ever gotten like referrals or anything off that too from people
Oh yeah,
that,
yep,
yeah,
yep,
that's
absolutely. And that's
amazing.
like each investor is different, but in the beginning, like I said, that honeymoon phase, it's so important to over communicate and overshare. And again, they're along with that journey and they're interested. They saw what you were doing online because you have the before pictures and the after pictures. They're like, oh, that's awesome. How can I be a part of that? So just kind of bringing them along with that journey and just, I always over communicate until they tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's hundreds of thousands of their hard-earned dollars that they want to make sure that it's in good hands and that you're being the best stewards with it. So just always over communicating with those
Yeah.
newer investors is key.
That's awesome. Until they're finally like, please stop sending me pictures of the alabaster white walls. Like we
Yeah,
get it. Yeah.
correct. We do not care anymore, but
Yeah. So that's awesome. So on top of, running your business, you're also a family man. I
yep,
know you have a new kid very recent, right? About a couple
yep.
months.
6 months old she is. Yep.
6 months old. So, how do you balance all this hustle and bustle with being a dad and a wife? Sorry, and
I have
having
a
a
very
wife and a family.
understanding wife,
Yeah.
but yeah, we have a 5-year old son, a 3-year-old son, and then a 6-month daughter.
Nice.
And I think it's just the systems and processes that we put in place, systems, processes, and people. So it's like make sure that you're focusing on the biggest activities and having those KPIs to measure so you kind of know how everything's looking. How the scoreboard of your business to say, okay, are we succeeding here? Are we failing here? So you don't have to get deep down into the. I mean, if you're seeing some failures, then you can kind of dig into it, but kind of keep it a high level overview of things so that you're not spending all your time looking at all the minuscule data that really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
Learn to be efficient. Do you have like
yeah.
any checks and balances or hard and fast rules about balancing that? Like you never work after a certain time or
I
take
struggle with that
Sundays
right now,
off?
Mike. So I'm probably too available for people to get a hold of me, but um, it's kind of a grind period as well.
Yeah.
So I think my wife understands that. And we try to, turn the phones off, put them down later in the afternoon or later in the evening and just do 100% family time. But, that can be tough as well. But right now we're kind of in the grind period and we know that. And so I try to be there as much as possible for my kids. And I work
Yeah.
from home a lot. Today I'm in the office just because I need to get away from the distractions at home. But it's kind of just balancing working from home and then working from the office. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think that looks different for everybody too,
yeah,
right? Like, you know, for me, I don't have kids, but I still, like to spend time with my wife and do different things. But
yep,
it's not uncommon for us to be watching a show on Netflix at 9:30 at night, and I'm, texting with a potential buyer on a wholesale deal that we're trying to move.
yep,
Like,
exactly, exactly. And and that's the benefit of this business though too is like I might have to be on the phone at 9 o'clock or 9:30 texting some people checking in, but it's also I mean I have lunch with my family almost every single day, breakfast
that's
with my
awesome.
family every single day, so it's like there's definitely some things that aren't ideal, but it kind of comes with the territory right now.
Totally. And it's I think the difference too with like this kind of business versus if you're like a workaholic that has a W2 that's like that is like those conversations that you're having could be like a $50,000 conversation.
Correct.
You
Yes.
know, like
Yes.
it's not like you're making your boss $50,000. Like you're
Yep.
making that for you and your family at that moment. And if that means that unfortunately you're gonna miss 10 minutes of the, soccer game or whatever,
Hmm.
most people will say that that's worth it up to a certain
Yeah,
point, right?
exactly. And again, that's kind of like with the systems and processes that we put in place. Hopefully, those conversations with those people I'm talking to, like you said, are the most important. Or I'm
Mhm.
not getting bombarded by phone calls throughout the day or into the evening. That's why we have a lead manager and call answering services that will take those calls and screen them before I need to talk with them. So it really
Yeah.
whittles it down to the people that I'm supposed to be talking to and need to be talking to.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Very, very cool. So before
Yep.
we go into our end of show questions here, what's on the horizon for you? What does like the next 12 months look like for your business?
We really want to start ramping it up and getting some better systems and processes in place to do at least 3 to 4 deals, per month. Looking to wholesale more of them to get away from some of the flipping, just because, like I said, the cash conversion cycle can be tough. And yeah, just really looking to grow the business. I'd really like to grow the rental portfolio. That's been tough the last couple of years, just
Hmm.
because with some of the numbers, it makes so much more sense to flip or wholesale a property
Yeah.
than rent it out the massive income versus the passive income. But we're still really wanting to grow that rental portfolio as well. So, but with the flip and wholesale business, next year's revenue goal would be around $1 million,
Awesome.
and just want to start adding some more doors to the rental side.
There we go. I love it. I know you'll definitely get there because you've made some massive strides over the last little bit. So
Yeah.
very, very
Yep.
cool, man. Sweet. All right. So we're going to dive into our end of show questions here. So we have the same 3 questions for everyone that comes on the show. So the first one, what is your craziest real estate investing story? Big win, big loss, crazy tenant, whatever you got.
I mean, as you know, if you're in this business long enough, there's a ton of crazy stories. Some of them, let's see, I had when I was managing our rentals before, I had a tenant that worked at Applebee's who turned into a stripper who would pay me with dollar bills rolled inside a paper, like, a paper roll tube. She would put it on her front porch, and that's how she would pay rent. And
No,
so,
what?
yeah.
I
So, and
mean,
we ended up evicting her. And when we cleaned out her apartment, I mean, there was crack pipes and bullets and all that in there as well. So, but that was one crazy rental story. I mean, we've signed deals on the hood of a car um, with a guy that might have been a little drunk, but had to get the deal done. So we had that. And then just some of the clean out stories. I'm sure you're aware of those. Those
Oh
are
yeah.
just, we had one where there was, I mean, there was about 2 feet of garbage in the house. There weren't even paths. And just, I think when we cleaned it out, we found over 150 milk jugs, and it was disgusting. A chew pile, like a chew tobacco pile
Yeah.
in the corner that was the size of like of a large raccoon.
Really?
It was
That's
disgusting.
crazy. So he's just
It
been
was,
spitting there for like decades.
yep, just he had a mattress on top of the garbage pile that he slept on, and then he just had this pile of chew that he would just throw it out after he was done or just spit. It was disgusting.
I mean, at least he kept it in one spot. It could
Yeah,
have been worse.
exactly.
Like,
I
could have been
suppose.
distributing it throughout the house. Could have been shoving it into the HVAC system or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And then one of our most recent cleanouts, I don't know how PG we need to be, but um, just the most like sex toys, just like that isn't even like I don't know physically possible. But I was like that, and it was a single man that lived there, and he had moved out, and we're like, hey, we're coming to clean up like tomorrow. We'll give you, and he's like, oh, I still got a few things to pick up there and get everything out, after. And so I was like, all right, you got 2 hours to go and grab whatever you need, and all of them were gone after he showed up. So, but it was just disgusting, but
That's a good one. Yeah.
part of the
I mean,
business.
the things that you find. Yeah. We had one a little while back. This older guy who had passed away, and we found his like, I don't know, like porn, like jerk off, like broom closet that he had.
Yeah.
That was like it had all these like nudes that were just like taped all up over the wall, and you had these boxes and boxes of like Playboys,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
old school magazines, and he had God, there was probably like some good money in some of those, honestly,
yeah.
because he had them back going for decades.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
So,
it's just like put on your hazmat suit and just
oh
throw it all in the dumpster.
yeah, no thank you. But
Or get a clean out crew. That's what we do. Just get a clean
yeah,
out crew and they can deal with
that's
it.
that's what we do these days. But when you're starting out, you got to do the hustle, right? You got to save what you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, it's good stuff. All right. Second question: if you could go back to the very beginning, what's one thing that you would have done differently?
Definitely get around people that were in the game. I after college I spent 10 years in corporate America, which was fine. Again, good company, good people to work with. But if I would have surrounded myself with the right people actually doing deals, and just kind of tap into them, like, hey, what are your operations? And I think there's just a lot larger community of sharing now, which is fantastic, where people are like, this is what we're doing, this is the systems we use. But if I could have just tapped into somebody back then, we would have just been so much farther ahead now. The people that were actually doing deals, they just that would have just been huge for us because we were kind of struggling along, like sending out some mail and then not sending out mails for 6 months and just kind of doing a half-ass.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could have tapped into somebody that was doing more deals back then, I think it would really help us out a lot.
Yeah, it's so funny because I fully agree, and I'm like if I look back at the biggest sort of like mindset change that I went through, it was when I joined my first like wholesale mastermind, and all of a sudden I was
Yep.
around people that were exactly like me, that were like just a couple steps ahead of me,
Yep.
and it
Yep.
gave me so much belief in what was possible, and gave me so much like opportunity to learn. But still, people have such an aversion to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like the fact is because there's bad actors out there with people with these like sort of crappy products, or if
Yeah.
it's like they don't truly believe in themselves, or what it is. But I mean, it's a huge thing, and everyone's always just like, well, if it's really that good, like, why does it cost money? It costs money because that's a barrier to entry to get the people that are actually going to be serious. You
Absolutely.
know, if you
And
want to
that's
be around yeah, go for it.
well, and that's sorry to interrupt you, but that was kind of like we went to the local RIA and there was good people there, and we still have that, but it was like so many tire kickers,
Mm-hmm.
and it just wasn't the right group of people to be around. Again, good people, good local people. We've made some great connections. You kind of find those top 4 or 5 people in the group and try to connect with them. But yeah, pay to be in the right room with the right people. Like this scale community is great because it's just operators just starting out and people that are doing a ton of deals, and it's just an open book of this is how we do it, this is what we do it, like this is where we pull the list, this is what we do with it, and it's just very open communication. So it's just fantastic to surround yourself. And what I love about the group is it's very honest, blunt feedback. Like they just won't, you guys don't sugarcoat a lot, which is good because it's like, no, stop doing that. Do it this way. You know, it works.
Yeah, try to be honest. I appreciate that, Karl. And just so you guys know, I did not ask or pay Karl to say that. So
You did not.
I
You
do
did not.
appreciate that. So awesome, man. All right, last question. Where can people find you, follow you, and reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on Facebook is probably the easiest way to do that. And follow me on there.
Cool. Right on, Karl Huth. And then what's the name of your business in case anybody wants to do a deal with you in Wisconsin?
Yeah, Clear Path Properties.
Clear Path Properties. Right on. All right, guys. Well, if you over there in the Midwest region, reach out to Karl on Facebook or at Clear Path Properties. And I'm sure he would love to JV or put something together where you guys can all make some money together. So,
Absolutely.
Karl, my man, thanks so much for coming on the show. Seriously, I really appreciate all the information and congrats on your success, man. Like you're one of my favorite stories that we've had because I've seen you go through so many ups and downs.
Ups and downs, yeah.
You've had so many fights and you've still continued to like stick with it. And that's like honestly the number one thing that leads to success is
Yes.
the willingness to just keep grinding, keep making adaptations, gutting through the hard parts, and then ultimately you will just outlast everyone who chooses to give up when things get weird. So, dude, really appreciate you being a part of the community and excited to see where things go for you for the next 12 months. So,
yeah, thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, if you didn't get any value from that, I don't know. Go listen to something else. Joe Rogan, like 6 hours of talking to some bloated old comedian or politician. Like if that's your jam, go listen to that. If you want to learn how to make real money with your real estate business, give us a follow at the Collecting Keys podcast. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at Mike_invest. If you have any insight or direction that you'd like me to go with some of these episodes, I always appreciate hearing from you guys. And besides that, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll talk to you guys next week.